Thank you for coming back, guys. Welcome back to another episode of the MineCast, the best Minecraft podcast in the world that is self-proclaimed. I have someone that I've been wanting to get on a podcast for about a year, but I haven't asked till recently because we just got the podcast going again. Last episode, we had a great person, but this episode, we have someone even better. I think creatively and for the Minecraft community, we have Stuart Duncan, or AutismFather. He is the creator of Autcraft. A YouTube channel is great. The server and everything that he has going there is just wonderful for the community. And thank you for taking your time to come out.
No, thanks for having me, and thanks for a great intro.
Yeah, I forgot you did a TED Talk too.
I did a TED Talk. I was featured on Meet a Minecrafter. I spoke at Games for Change in New York City. It's been a wild ride ever since I started my server. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's start there actually, because obviously everybody knows, or anybody that does know Autcraft, which I'm assuming most people that will be watching this will, but if you don't, it's a server for people of all ages for that have autism or on the spectrum anyway, or it just need a safe place to really enjoy the game and not have to worry about it. And I'm assuming most people would know that that is, generally going to come from a place of like bullying and harassment and such like that. But I actually I figured you did have a child with autism, but I didn't know that you had autism yourself. So when obviously through gaming and your children probably started to play games, you played games. That's where the idea came from. But where did it all start? Where did this whole Autcraft start?
Well, if you ask my son, it's from him. He's responsible for everything because he was diagnosed with autism, and that's what led me on my path. So he's responsible.
Okay.
Yeah, oh, he's so proud. But yeah, I've always been a gamer. Of course, I'm old, so like gaming for me was taking a roll of quarters to the local arcade and spending way more money than my family was happy with. So I've always been a gamer. So then, of course, my kids were gamers because I had to have every new console and stuff, and we played, and we got into Minecraft as everybody did in 2012 when it came out on the Xbox. It was a huge burst, and all the YouTubers were making videos, and we just had fun. And I really didn't look too much into like the world of servers and stuff like that. We were content playing playing by ourselves and playing on Hypixel where we just talk to ourselves, and as families do. And but then I started hearing from other parents who had autistic children that their children were being bullied. So my kids and I we felt bad for all of them, and we love the game, and we felt bad that they weren't able to love the game like we did. So
Yeah.
so I decided I was going to try and make a server.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's where I learned of you through the server, just from Twitter. I don't know who it was. I don't know if there was a larger name that retweeted you guys or something I was following, but I seen it about a year ago, and I looked into it, and the server was made so long ago. It's what, ninth anniversary now on the 23rd.
Yep. Yeah, we're just a few days away from 9 years. It's
Yes,
crazy.
and once this podcast comes out, it should be a day before. So if you guys are listening now, go check it out. Go check out otcraft.com. Is that what it is?
Yep.
And yeah, go check out what they're doing there, because on the 23rd, I think you're having Geminitay come on the server as well.
That's right. Yeah, you say a big name probably is that we've had a lot of guests ever since the second year, 2014, when we had what we call the Hermitcraft invasion, where literally everybody on the Hermitcraft server at the time all came onto the server and spent a little time talking with the players and stuff. And since then, we've had Think Noodles and Log.zip and some Mojang people, and yeah, Geminitay. She's coming on the 23rd. It's exciting.
That's sick. Yeah, because I'm pretty geographically close to her, so it's kind of nice to see someone from my community to like do things like that aren't just like charitable things that are in mainstream news and such, and it's like actually in gaming, because it's something that I never really thought about, and I think my stepmother has multiple sclerosis, as most people know, and there's things with multiple sclerosis that you would never know, but a child of someone that has multiple sclerosis, or someone theirself, or a wife or husband, you would know the struggles of that. And I feel like if you don't have someone in the family with Down syndrome, with autism, with a learning disability of any sorts, of any kind of spectrum, I don't think you really realize the struggles and the issues that can come with that. No, all the positivities are bright and shining, but there's a lot of really dark negativities. And I think that's what fascinated me is because it's so nonchalant for you to just say, yeah, I just made this server for it. But it's like it's like someone making a community around multiple sclerosis and building an office of it and allowing people with multiple sclerosis to go there whenever they want to have their own safe place to be. And that's incredible. I mean, that's a huge feat. And you 100% deserve all the recognition you've gotten from BuzzFeed and all these other different news outlets and such. And it's great to hear a lot of people have helped. What's one of your favorite things that's happened with the server? One of your favorite memories?
Oh, like with individual players and stuff.
Yeah, sure. Like any
Oh,
memory in
there's
general with the server. What gate makes you the happiest? What's the memory?
so many. I mean, we
Mm.
just had our Pride event yesterday,
Mm.
and one of our more recently new players, been playing for not too long, but a little while, settled in, got their base and everything, and they participated in the Pride event and went and played the games and collected things. And this morning, I woke up to a post in our forum on our website saying that they just they can't contain themselves how great it is to feel accepted and not afraid. And they come from a very religious family that look very down on LGBTQ
Mm.
and all of that. Like they're really afraid that their parents will disown them, that they'll hate them completely and
Mm.
totally because they are LGBTQ. And they said, "Thank you so much for this server where I know I'm accepted, where I don't have any fears, where I can, tell you all exactly who I am." And yeah, and
100%.
it's, I
Yeah.
mean, I started a server for autistic people, and here, it was funny because I actually wrote once years ago now that far more autistic people identify as being part of the LGBT community than you might realize. Like I talk to so many of these players who are transgender or gay or gender fluid or any avenue, any part of the LGBTQ spectrum.
Sure.
Um, and then like not even no word of a lie. Like less than a year later, a research study came out that said autistic people are more likely to identify as being part of LGBTQ. And I'm like, I know, I told you. Like, so yeah, so it's been really great that way. Probably the most personal experience that really got me was I was actually doing a live stream at the time, and this one player, like 13, was talking to me and stuttering. He had quite the stutter, and he kept apologizing. He kept like worse than apologize. He was hating himself for his stutters because he
Mm.
wanted to make a good impression, and he was talking to the owner of the server and everything.
Sure.
And he would like put himself down for his. And I was telling him like, take your time, just take your time. I'm not going anywhere. Stutter if you have to stutter and get it out when you can. There's no rush, and I really don't mind. We're
Mm.
here.
Okay.
We're here to talk. And while we're talking on the live stream, the little notification thingy comes up in the corner saying I have an email, and it happened to be his mom
Oh my
saying
goodness.
that his dad is gone, and he hasn't really talked to anybody, much less like a father figure, in a long time. And it meant the world to him, and it meant the world to her. And she just wanted to thank me so much for being so patient and understanding and just talking with him and letting him share his interests and stuff. And I was like, still, I was live streaming talking to this kid. I'm like, getting choked up, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it means a lot. Like, just take a little bit of extra time and just be understanding and not in a rush and not mean and not judgmental, and just let these kids say what they want to say and be who they want to be,
No, it's
and
I
ease the
that's
world.
I actually didn't realize that at all that you so yeah, I knew you made Autcraft for children on the autism spectrum or whatever, in any respect. But I had no idea that the server grew to such a point where people that just want and aren't accepted or want to feel included and accepted for who they are, like they have a safe space to go there too, because that is so important. Like I'm 26, so I'm like recently out of high school, I guess, in comparison. And in my high school, um, we had LGBTQ. Well, it was, I don't know what we were calling it 6, 7, 8 years ago, but it was like a little community classroom or whatever that they had. Not a lot of people there, probably 3 or 4, and now it's it's exploded into, I've heard 80 to 100 students are part of that movement in that same school, and to see things grow from something so simplistic of just having a friendship group to feel included in, it exploded to an actual movement within a school, and it just seems like that kind of comparison with what you're doing is really really similar, where you just grew something with genuine passion, genuine love for people, and people that don't feel accepted or feel like they're neglected in a community, and you're just building this amazing spot for people to feel accepted. And I was checking out the website, and you still have active players. Like it's something that is ever growing. And you
Yeah.
said it was pretty much your full time kind of commitment.
Oh, I wish I only worked full time. No, I'm up at 6 or 7, and I'm at work, at home, but at work on the server until usually midnight, 1 a.m.
Wow. Yeah.
every
Okay.
every
So
day.
you do put your work in, which is incredible.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, and everybody's like, "Well, you take holidays, right?" And no, because holidays are busier time. Like on Christmas Day, I'm on for 24 hours. On New Year's, I'm on for 20 hours.
mm,
And then like right now, school is getting out, so the server's busier than ever. So yeah, it's busy work. But yeah, like
as it usually is. Yeah.
you bring up a good point. Like um, just not feeling like those LGBTQ kids, they were always there. It's not like the population got bigger, just the
Yep.
group size got bigger. They were there, they just didn't have anywhere to go. And the same with
Mm,
autism. Like all the autistics in the world, autistic people just needed a place to come together.
mm,
They and to be recognized. Like a lot of a lot of gay people just stay in the closet, as it's
sure.
called, right? Like you hide
Mm,
because you're afraid, like that one player, afraid what their parents are going to say.
mhm,
Autistic people tend to not even know they're autistic. Like somebody wrote
mhm,
on Twitter one time, like there's a good chance somebody that's autistic, and I said, I guarantee you know somebody that's autistic. You might not know it, and even they might not know it, but you do. If you know more than like 10 people, you know somebody that's autistic. They just might not have ever been diagnosed. I was diagnosed as an adult. I was in my 30s.
sure.
So I mean, it's that population hasn't sprung out of nowhere. They've just always been there. They just haven't had a safe place like my server where they can all get together and share common experiences, talk about common interests. And the biggest thing, whether it's autism or LGBTQ, is just not being afraid.
Mm,
Like that's why the Pride event and all of June, the Pride month, is so important to us on the server, is because it's not just bullies and trolls that we're trying to keep these kids safe from. It's judgment, it's teasing, it's hate, it's just being afraid in general of what people might think. Like
completely agree.
you give them the freedom to be who they are without being afraid, and it's a life-changing experience, and I've seen it countless times. Our server, you say we still have active people. Our server has just over 15,500 people on the whitelist right now.
Yeah, that's
And
incredible. I
they
mean,
don't all play still. They come and go, but it's
well,
a lot of
people are like
people.
that with Minecraft anyway. I mean, that's not
Yeah.
even a sentence you have to say. 'Cause I mean, everybody comes and go unless you're making content. You're going to be playing Minecraft for a few weeks every couple months. Like it's not, you have those
Yeah.
little binges that people have, but the fact that there is a place for them to go, I mean,
We've
it's
we've had
it's
some who
incredible.
start on the server before high school and then they play for a bit through high school, come and go with exams and stuff, and then they disappear for a while, and then they come back and they go, "I just completed college," and I'm
Mhm.
like, "Man, I really am old. I've been doing this a long time."
No, I love that. Yeah, I saw I don't know if it was your YouTube channel trailer. I was just doing a bit of research anyway, just because that's what I do with the podcast. But I was doing a bit of research and I seen that you said like we've seen people grow from high school to completing college to finding their first jobs and stuff, and it's incredible. And I wanted to segue going through the motions with those things, high school, college, jobs, whatever. Don't want to get too far in your personal life, but with the autism part, I'd like to know more. Like, obviously, I'd like to know how you went about knowing to go to or figuring out how to get diagnosed with autism or whatever. But I would also like to know like the challenges you've had, because I mean, it's completely different than you building a safe space for people of all ages to where, you know, X amount of years ago when you were diagnosed with autism was completely different. It was a completely different place. So I would love to know if there was any struggles you had.
Um, I found out, like you said, most people don't know, right? Like everybody's heard of autism. Most people
Hmm.
have no idea what it is until somebody in their family has it, or they find out they have it themselves. Even they just don't know. Like there's no real logical reason to go researching in depth exactly what autism is, unless you plan on being an expert in the field or it's in your family.
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of people don't even realize they have it. And I didn't until I saw it in my son. My son behaved differently than most children I had ever known. I saw very obvious signs. And so when I insisted that he get diagnosed, and that was when the comparison started to happen between him and my own childhood. Um,
Okay, that's actually so interesting that
yeah.
you didn't really weren't able to really no, and I guess also the awareness around autism just wasn't really there. So I mean, people around you probably wouldn't have been able to tell as a kid because there
Oh,
just
they
wasn't the
still,
awareness.
even when I told them that I was officially diagnosed, even my own family were like, "No, you don't have." And I'm like, "Remember that story you tell people, and that other thing that I used to do when I was a kid, and that thing?" And then they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Think about it."
Yeah, yeah,
And they're
yeah.
like, "Oh yeah, I guess that would be." Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you actually learned from
Yeah,
comparison with your son.
yeah.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
and I was writing about it. I knew a lot about autism. I was writing about it. I was blogging and writing for organizations and stuff. And it wasn't until I was living with a child that has autism and noticing all these things that I was like, and I often say, like, when I was diagnosed, like I once I knew, but it
mm,
wasn't until a doctor said, "Yeah, you're on the autism spectrum." I had one of those moments where your life flashes before your eyes, and suddenly,
mhm,
like, all those really awkward things I said and did, dumb things I did when I was like 2 that I still remember for whatever reason. Like
mhm.
my whole life flashed before my eyes, where all of a sudden it's like, that's why.
Yeah, I've had that recently too in the last few years with mental health, just with anxiety and hypochondria and such. Which people that watch me know I like to talk about mental health because it's such an important subject, obviously. And I'll reflect. I've been reflecting a lot lately in the last year or two on like things that I've done as a child and things that I would do, and you know, just being around the supper table and people talking about health issues and heart problems, and me having to just go to the bathroom because I'm really scared of like them talking about it when I was really young. And that's hypochondria. It's like you don't really notice until you really reflect on your life, and the only reason I knew that is because it's been like the awareness of hypochondria, awareness of anxiety and depression. These things really arose, so you can kind of compare yourself to people that do have it and be like, wow. So it took you, because of the awareness at the time, it took you having a son with autism. That's I mean that's
Mhm.
honestly, it's a blessing in disguise. Obviously, it's not something you want, but it's definitely a blessing, and
Yeah.
that's the best way to figure out. I mean, you get to compare yourself to someone as lovely as him.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. It's very true. It's funny because, like, after the news had died down and I was who I am and everybody in my family came to terms with it and everything. I remember I was sitting around with my grandmother, and just totally at random, she says, "I don't mean any offense by this. I hope you don't get upset or anything, but I'm really curious. Like, why do you think more people are being diagnosed with autism? Like, why do you think more people have autism now than they used to?"
Mm,
And I said, "Grandma, when you went to school, did you have a special ed class?"
mm,
And she said, "Actually, we had a special ed trailer. I remember it. It was outside. It was separated from the school in the schoolyard." And I said, what did they tell you was wrong with those kids that went in that trailer? And she said, they just told us they were slow.
Mm,
And I said, Grandma, slow isn't a diagnosis for anything, right? Like,
yeah.
nobody's diagnosed with slow.
No.
And
And
I
I
said,
mean, it
they
was,
just didn't
yeah.
know. So
No.
you went to school your whole entire life with autistic kids and didn't even know it. So they were always
Mhm.
there.
Yep, and this I think finally the last few years I've noticed, and sorry to keep on the autism topic so
No,
much,
it's
but
fine.
obviously that's
Yeah.
kind of your life right now with
The more people that
Autcraft and
learn
stuff.
about it, the better. If viewers learn a few things, if they go, "Oh yeah, I never thought about it. When I went to school, I had special ed and I didn't even." Yeah. So yeah, by all means,
I
continue.
think unless you have, because I knew there was a spectrum, obviously, but
Hmm.
I didn't know that there was such a broad spectrum until there's a Call of Duty analyst, and I follow her and I mod for her in her Twitch chat, stuff like that. And she actually does have autism. She's a Call of Duty analyst. She's on the TDO like professional like franchised desk like doing analysis, and you would never tell, as with you, as with a lot of people, you would never tell. And until I met her and watched her and seen how she dealt with life and dealt with her autism, I would have never known. So that kind of opened my eyes to it. And then once I learned that you had autism, well, it opened my eyes because you don't know. You have no idea who from day to day could have any what would you
Yeah.
say? I don't wanna say anything
Any
wrong,
any
obviously. I meant
disorders, any
any
illnesses,
disorders,
any
any illnesses.
differences, yeah, any of that stuff, you
Exactly.
would never know. Well, like the internet, right? Like you look at these people on Instagram who are perfect. You know that they're
Mm,
not perfect when they go home and they, get out of their designer clothes and makeup and lighting and everything, right? Well,
yes.
the same sort of thing happens with mental illness. Like you look at like somebody like Robin Williams who had I can't remember what it was called. He had a very severe form of mental illness, which is what led to his untimely passing. But even his own wife didn't know. He was hiding some things. Like for me, when I do this interview, for example, I will need like all day tomorrow to, you know, just recharge. I guess recharge my batteries. Like
Sure, okay.
when I did the TED talk, I was like out of commission. You get like mentally and emotionally and even physically exhausted afterwards. Like you have not run a marathon or anything, but you plop yourself on the couch and you're just like, I am not motivated to do anything or talk to anyone for a little while.
Well, okay,
And
I appreciate you coming on because that's I mean, I know I actually really do my stepmother, she has MS. If she does anything overexerting, she's wrote off for a few days. Her whole
yeah,
body, like she can't walk kind of thing, right? So I thank you for coming on. That's incredible that you even are accepting that with knowing that obviously you have to work your day-to-day life and you push through it. But either way, I appreciate that. But also, thanks for being so open with that stuff. Because I don't know how open people want to be, but I just do think that it's definitely a big conversation that needs to be had, especially in the gaming community, especially in the Minecraft community, having such a young audience.
yeah, and a lot will have ADHD or autism or anxiety disorder or
Mhm.
obviously very big problem, depression.
Yes.
And so you see people put on like a show, right? Like you see their character in front of the camera and playing a game or doing whatever they're doing, and it's a lot of fun, and you think, man, that person is so outgoing and funny and I want to subscribe, and I want to support them because they're such a but what you don't see is when they turn off the camera and
Yep.
it all comes crashing down and they need to go and sit and just chill for a little while and relax. And yeah, it's the world is very different on and off camera. And I think it's kind of magical, but it's also kind of hurts itself in a way, because if more people knew that that's what was going to happen, maybe they wouldn't be so harsh with their criticisms, or
Yeah.
they wouldn't say whatever comes to mind without any filter. Maybe they wouldn't expect more. They wouldn't say 24-hour stream next. No, I'm not going to do a 24-hour stream because doing 4 hours is exhausting.
Yeah.
So more people might be more understanding if there was more to know.
100%. Yeah, I completely agree with that. And with it such like a such a young audience, I've no like for me growing up, I had the opportunity to grow up without technology, and then as I got into my early teens, I was playing video games are kind of a thing anyway, Super Nintendo stuff like that. But when you came to the actual internet, I was around like 10 to 12 years old. I started playing MapleStory and use the internet more. Um, and then my teens were where I really used my cell phone, used my iPod, stuff like that. So I kind of developed enough of my mind by then that I don't think it has affected me, but not drastically. And I think it's going to be interesting where the mental health lies in children that are using these outlets of YouTube, using outlets of Twitter, Instagram, all the way up through, because you're developing such different neural pathways from age 3 to 10 than you are from 10 to 20, like I was. So I'm interested in to see that, because the Instagram people that fake their lives, even down to you're watching a YouTube video and you want to be like this person, you want to be like Mumbo Jumbo or whatever, and you don't realize that somebody that is extremely outgoing, Preston Plays, someone like that in their videos. They do it for out of the kindness of their own heart, for the content and for the people, and it's lovely. But that could not be exactly who they are off camera. But these kids may look up to them so much and feel like they have to be like that, and when they're not, this is where the mental health could come in, not including the ADHD and the low attention spans and stuff like that. So I think making to bring it all back around, I think creating Autcraft, and not only creating Autcraft for autism, but being open, as you obviously would be anyway, but being open and wanting to grow it larger than just that, but making it a place of inclusivity opposed to just autism, is, I think, it's going to be more monumental than it seems to be, or has seemed to be in the last few years. It's going
it
to be
it
absolutely
has been, and that has been
hmm
part of my motivation is like the stigma around autism is, they don't want friends, they don't have empathy, they rage a lot, communication skills are terrible. Those are the things that people tend to think about when it comes to autistic people. So when I said I was starting a server for autistic kids, people were like, "That's never going to work. It's just going to be chaos, right?" Like, there's just
sure.
no way you could put thousands of autistic kids together and not have it turn into the worst thing ever. But it didn't. It turned out to be one of the most amazing, supportive, and encouraging, and stress free. Probably, like, when I say I'm on there from 7 a.m. until midnight, it's work, but it's a pleasure to be there. Like, I'm just so proud of those kids, and I
Mm.
love being there and seeing them, give each other tours and help each other out. And when somebody says, "Oh man, I'm so stupid that I did," everybody else is like, "Don't call yourself that. You're not stupid. You're,
Yeah, that's
you know,
incredible. And when you're
it
young
is."
and you're not in this inclusivity, like kind of a community, you think of that as quote unquote cringe when people tell each other that kind of
Right.
thing, but you don't
Right.
realize until you're an adult that that is the positive reinforcement that you need from other kids, other friends. You don't realize you need it as much as you do when you're an adult. Like that is
Hmm.
it's just the classic adult being like, that's so sweet, but it is a genuine, that is huge, and that alone, and that's one little portion of what you're doing. Like
That's one little
it's
portion. It's like ever in 2015, and then it was released in 2016. We had a researcher come in after reading all the testimonials and my stories and things,
mm,
and she came in and just observed. She just sat on the server and observed, and some people
sure.
came and played with her and stuff. And she wasn't like a doctor. It wasn't all clinical. It was observing all the different stuff we were doing. And she wrote her paper and ended up winning paper of the year,
Wow.
and showing how these kids, working together and having all these, methods of communicating and team building and all this stuff that, I didn't make programs for team building. I didn't build all these things to do all the, it's just a Minecraft server, people play together, and it just happens naturally. And she wrote these research articles, and we've had other researchers come in, and since then people are starting to see that autistic people can build the best place on the internet, a wonderful community. They can work together and be team leaders. They can be supportive of each other, and not only that, but video games aren't the terrible, mindless, mind-numbing, terrible things that older generations have always thought it was. It turns
Yes.
out it can be a wonderful place and a great tool, and and a virtual community, especially, I ironically, when like a pandemic happens, you
Mm,
end up with this really amazing community online that spans the entire world, where people are able to escape the horrors of being sick and
sure.
all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's Autcraft, I started it with a very simple ideal, which was to keep kids safe from the bullies and trolls and stuff. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's really become way more than that.
And then you see the passion in that because when things build out of your control, when people are coming and you aren't marketing to certain people, but people are coming to you because of what you built. That's when you know you built it with passion and love, 100%.
Still blows my mind every single time I get an application and it says they heard about Autcraft from their therapist or their doctor, and I'm like,
That's crazy.
that
That's crazy.
is. I'm like, these
Wow,
professionals are recommending their clients to me, not the other
that's
way around.
incredible.
It
What are you
is.
doing? What are you guys doing on the 23rd other than Geminitay? What do you guys have planned?
It's funny, we don't usually plan anything. Stuff just sort of
Mm,
falls into place. Like usually what I end up doing is the live stream.
sure.
Um and I just boast and gloat about how, like, it's basically I'm lifting open the curtain on the
Sure.
anniversary, where people can come in and they can see the server and they can see the players and they can see, what goes on a little bit. And what has happened over the years is word gets out. Somebody goes, oh, everybody's talking about this server right now, and that's when Hermitcraft invades, and that's when Think Noodles will offer to pop in, stuff like that. So generally, we don't actually end up planning a whole lot other than just to do a live stream and just show off the whole thing, and we end up having people visit, and ends up taking up the whole day.
That sounds awesome. So can it's at it, like obviously people have to be whitelisted.
Yeah,
Um,
to play
but
on the server. Yeah.
anybody can just obviously watch. What Twitch channel is it going to be on?
Twitch.tv/AutismFather.
Cool. It will be down below. And where the last question, I don't want to keep you because obviously you got to start recharging. Um, but I think most people are probably going to be wondering where you want to go in the future with it. Where obviously you expect it to go, which is get bigger and better and more inclusive and such. But where do you want to take it?
Honestly, I want to see other people. Like, the best thing that I could do at this point is inspire other people to want to
Mm,
help too. See, when I started my server, my wife had left me the year before.
sure.
I was a web developer, so I was staying up way too late working on code and not eating very well. I
Fair
have
enough.
2 kids. They were young at the time, 9 years ago, and I had no money, and I didn't have any experience in running a Minecraft server, and I certainly didn't have any sort of education in being like a therapist or even taking care of kids. Like, I had kids of my own, but I didn't have any training or anything. So, like, on top of people telling me that a server full of autistic children couldn't work, I also had like literally everything else. Like, when you think about, I'm going to do a thing, but then you're like, maybe I'm not ready yet. Maybe I don't have the time or the money, or maybe it's not the best. Maybe I should wait until I'm you know like, everything was stacked against me, and I did it, and I just figured it out as I went along, as best I could, and invited people to help out, and it became what it is now. And now I'm doing interviews, and it's amazing, traveling the world and stuff. But I share that story as inspiration for other people. Like, if you believe in something, especially when it comes to helping other people,
Mm,
just do it and figure it out. Don't wait until you're ready. Don't
mm.
don't wait until all the pieces fall into place. Don't wait until you have enough time. Don't wait until you have, you know what I mean? Like,
Most
if
times the puzzle pieces won't fall into place. You
exactly,
need to let it just happen naturally as you work on what you're
you could
working.
wait forever and ever and ever and never get to it, and then you just regret, right? So
Yeah.
just do it. Like, I've had people say, have you thought about starting a server for ADHD? Have you thought about starting a server for Down syndrome? Have you thought about and my response to them is always, have you thought about it? um
Mm,
like, I started a server for autistic kids because I know autism. I have autism, my son does, and I've been writing about it, and I've been hearing from these parents, and I can be patient and understanding because I know what they're going through. I can relate. So if I was to start a server for people with Down syndrome, I would still be the nice, kind, helpful person that I am, but there would be something missing.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not my community.
Mm,
So I am comfortable where I am. I love, oh, pardon me. Like I said, I love being on the server. I
mm.
love spending my entire days there. And if it continues on at a steady pace where it is for the rest of my life, I'm happy with that. That's good.
Yeah, that's what you want as a owner of a server, and not only owner of a server, but a face of a organization like you have going. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. But if I can
Um,
inspire other people, if I can get other like
yes,
when I hear about um, therapists, for example, sending people to a video game server, I'm like, oh my gosh, the world is changing. Like
yes, finally.
people are sending kids to go play video games, to be
Yep.
happy, to have fun, to be in a social environment that's good for them. Like that. Imagine that 10, 20 years ago. Never.
Oh,
Never.
even 20 years ago when I was in kindergarten, we used maybe a program for typing.
Right.
Maybe a program for typing, but that is literally it. That was literally it. There was no I mean, there was no awareness for mental health or
Yeah.
anything like
Other
that.
than that, it was get your face out of the screen, go
Yes.
outside. Yeah.
Certain amount of time, and even honestly, if you think about it, 5, 6, 7 years ago, when the iPads became a huge thing for
Mm.
children,
Oh,
people were starting to do the, like, only on it for 1 hour a day, or, like, your
yep.
child will have
Screen
ADHD, and it's
limits and yeah.
but now that therapists and registered physicians and people in the research, sector of these mental health issues or disabilities, they're, like, realizing that video games are not only inherently like decently good for people as an escape mechanism, but if you do it correctly, it could be extremely educational and a safe spot for people, which is what you've done, right?
Hmm.
'Cause you're not only, helping these kids, but they're being educated on the server in socialism, not socialism. Oh my God,
Being social.
socialization. No,
Yeah.
socialization
So
that they
socialism too.
generally.
Socialism
No,
too. They help
true.
each other out and they give each other all. We've had players sign on and they being a child, not even autism have anything to do with it. Just being a child, that what's mine is mine. You hands off, don't touch. I'm not
Yeah,
giving you any of my stuff. But then other kids show up and they give them armor and weapons and diamonds and emeralds and they give them all this stuff and they say, "Do you want to build it? You want me to help you build a house? Do you want to live with me? Do you want to everything?" And a couple months go by and then I end up getting an email from the parents going, "My child is giving their stuff away." I don't understand like why they want to be like those other kids. They felt so good by that. They want to
yeah.
do that for other people now, and I never thought I'd see the day where my child would be giving away stuff. And so yeah, like it's this video game culture. Like I call it the stuffy old men in suits. The stuffy old men in suits
Mm,
are starting to see that they were wrong. That
yes.
autistic kids are not what they thought they were. Video games are not necessarily what they thought they were. The world is not so black and white. It's not just this is bad, this is good, this is what they do, this is what they do. No.
No.
Autism is a spectrum. You're right, but it's a spectrum of spectrums. All the kids are different. Some of them, um, there's a certain amount of anxiety. There's a certain amount, like for example, sensory issues. I have sensory issues, but a lot of
Okay.
people don't realize that people with autism often, not 100% of the time, but majority of the time have sensory issues, but it can be on such a huge scale that sometimes they will feel no pain at all, and other times the tag on their shirt will feel like 1,000 needles poking them in the back.
Okay.
So, and that's just like the sense of touch. Then there's taste and smell and everything else, but then there's also executive functioning. There's
Mm.
also a million different things, and they're all different spectrums, and so every single kid is so very different. And it's only like now that doctors are starting to be like, if we put them in this video game where they don't have to taste or touch, or they can adjust their brightness and the sound, and they can do all this sort of stuff, and they don't have to worry about making eye contact or what the other person's body language means or any of that sort of stuff. If we could just put them in this Minecraft server where they can be with other kids their age who also have autism and they get along and they can learn to share and stuff. We had a child write on our website yesterday or this. My days blend together, but I
Oh,
think it
I
was
feel
this
you.
morning.
Same.
He was saying that he's been on the server for 8 months and he's learned how to read and write and do stuff on the server. And legit, like when he first joined, he was really bad at communicating. He's very young,
Sure.
but he tried. He's yes and no, okay, home. And now he's writing complete sentences and helping other people and giving tours to new kids and stuff. And it's been 8 months. And so, even he was the first one to say, like, I've been learning all this stuff on the server. And it's not because we have a classroom where we sit them down and with a textbook and teach them work. No, it's just because they're on the server and having fun and they're seeing other people using the chat and they're picking up the words. And if they spell a word wrong and they see somebody else spell it right, then they go, oh, that's how that's spelled. Okay, I'm gonna spell it that way from now on. And 8 months later, they're a pro at reading and writing and being a good kid towards other kids and stuff. And it's
I
just
think it's gonna help. I think it's gonna help more in like socialization than people really realize. Just because if you think about people growing up with autism, generally, if you are on I don't know if it'd be higher or lower spectrum. I guess higher spectrum of autism, with cognitive issues and such. You generally don't have that social settings with friends. Like that's what it
Mhm.
used to be when I was growing up, right? But
Yep.
now they have this inclusive place to learn these social skills that they would have never learned or possibly never learned, and that will provide such information for future. Like that's preparing them for after high school and to college and after college. It's information that I think the server's providing, and that it's just by culture and not by a design.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. We've heard from a lot of people who tell us that they've gone on to school and made their very first friend ever in real life because of the few months that they played on the server. They learned how to not
Amazing.
only make friends, but how to be a friend, how to, communicate, how to say what their intentions are rather than just do it and then have this big blow up because somebody did something unexpected or
That's
stuff like that. And
absolutely incredible. I mean,
yeah, it's great to hear, right? Like it's, oh no, we're not going to see them as much because now they're going to be playing with their friend outside. But
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's amazing that they're signing on, learning these skills, and going off to school and making friends for the first time and having sleepover. I'm so nervous. I'm having a sleepover, and I'm like, that's amazing.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, that's
Yeah,
incredible.
it
If you
is.
want to be part of, if someone out there, someone that's watching, wants to be part of the community, and they want to send an application, they want to have that inclusive community, they have autism themselves, they are a part of the LGBTQ community, and they just want an inclusive place to learn social aspects, have fun with Minecraft, game friends, have a great time. Where can they find you? Where can they find it? And do you want to shout yourself out, explain what it is, and yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the server is Autcraft. It's at autcraft.com. And my name is AutismFather. If you know those two things, you can find me anywhere on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and Twitch and all over the place. Always those two names. AutismFather is always me, and Autcraft is always the server. And yeah, if you have autism in your family, even like we've had grandmothers playing with their grandkids. We've had siblings playing. Um,
Incredible.
we always encourage parents to play. There's nothing better than to see a mom, dad, kid and their brother and or sister or whatever, and they go off and make a house together and they go off and adventure together and they're doing stuff together, and you see in the chat, hey mom, where are you, do you want to do this or whatever, and I'm sitting here thinking, on any other server they'd get bullied so hard for doing that, but
Yes.
on Autcraft I see it every single day, and it's the best building, um the best bonding experience
Mm,
you'll ever have with your kids is to, and it's funny because when I started the server, a lot of parents were complaining because their kids never shut up about Minecraft. All they ever talked
mhm.
about was Minecraft, always Minecraft. They wanted to watch the Minecraft on YouTube and then go play Minecraft and then yeah, and I always told them, join in, go sign, get yourself an account and join in and play with them, and then you'll be talking about Minecraft all the time too because you'll be planning your
Yep.
next builds together. And
And you'll
it's
be loving Minecraft
yeah,
yourself. That's
it's
exactly how it goes.
it is great, and that's what my servers made. Like all of our admins and staff and people are autistic people themselves or family members, like parents who joined in.
Amazing. Well, thank you for coming on. I wanted to say, I appreciate you coming on so much. If you haven't heard of Autcraft, go to autcraft.com. It's going to be in the description below, along with all the other socials. But the main one you're going to want to check out is the Twitch, because tomorrow, as this podcast drops, it's going to be tomorrow, June 23rd. They're doing the 9th anniversary of Autcraft, the autistic server for autism and all inclusivity, LGBTQ. Anybody go check it out. Twitch.tv/AutismFather, I think that's right. And if you just want to be part of the community, go support them, go tweet it, retweet it. And I know Geminitay will be on the server, so that'll be some fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely.
She's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, she is great. Thank you so much for coming on, Stuart. I appreciate it so much. Thank you for taking the time out of your day, and thanks for being so open with everything, because I know the community that's watching appreciates that. I think you help more than you would ever know.
Well, thanks for having me on. I'm always happy to share and enlighten and, like I said, and hopefully inspire. So thanks.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.